bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening, Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah, man. Today's Tuesday, March 20th, 2018. Just 79 days into the new year, 286 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in downtown Burbank, California, and I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the Planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? Aight. This is what we're gonna do now. Tonight, very special guest, Laird Scranton is here. Oh, yeah. Laird Scranton is here to discuss the latest breaking news out of Egypt about the newly discovered chamber above the Grand Gallery in the Great Pyramid. What is in it? What did they find? We're going to talk about that. Other rumors going around Giza, like the tomb of Queen Nefertiti. That's right. Other stuff going on in Giza. It's a big deal. It all ties together, doesn't it? Think about that. Now, I've got an update on the Nazca mummies, too. Also ties into Egypt. So I've got that at the bottom of the hour. So stay put. Lots of things going on. This world has come unglued. Just come unglued. Got another bomb that went off a few minutes before showtime tonight in Austin, Texas. And now those reports are fluid, but there is another one. So I think this is now number 7. We had the two, well, one at the FedEx place and another suspicious package at FedEx, but another explosion in Austin right before showtime tonight. And everything that is going on around the world, Putin got reelected, right? So we've got, that craziness going on. The things in Washington, D.C. We're building up to this summit in North Korea between Trump and Kim Fatty Fat. So this planet of ours, combined with what is going on in Egypt, what is going on with the Nazca mummies, certainly the show that we did last night with Emery Smith, it's coming unglued, man. Facebook completely imploding. Facebook. I'm telling you, it's just like, man, we need to pump the brakes, man. We need to pump the brakes. So we've got a lot to talk about tonight. Laird Scranton's going to be here. And tomorrow night, Yvonne Smith is here. I cannot wait to get Yvonne on the show. So she'll be with us tomorrow night. Thursday is another Fader night with John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom Live. I bet you cannot wait for that. Man. Just craziness. And through it all, this is the thing. And, by the way, I'm over at Coast to Coast this weekend, too, Friday and Saturday night. So just a full week ahead of us. And it's times like these, and just like that show last night with Emery, which was just fantastic, these are the times where I'm so glad I'm in this chair and I am able to steer this thing and report. Also, because I'm in this chair, some of the things that we have been covering, not only through guests, but through you, right? Our fans and the phone calls over the years, we have been talking about all of, and you know what? It's happening. It's happening. Not only disclosure, but the mass media narrative and conspiracy. It's just like crazy stuff. And then I'm able to sit back and go, well, yeah. And here we go. So I have a lot to talk about tonight, and having Laird come in here, combined with all kinds of other things I'm going to get to in just a second, makes tonight's show one of the most important shows that we've done in a long time. And to say that after last night and after the week that we did last week on the show, and the week before that, and the month before that, and the month before that, and they just keep building and getting bigger and more important. And here we are tonight. I'm telling you, it's going down. It's going down. And I love it. I love it. That's why I like being in this chair. And combined with, when you look at everything in the big scope of things, now what do we have? We've got On Stellar. And that ties everything together. So just kick back tonight, listen to what I have to say. Listen to Laird Scranton and really enjoy the show. Get into it. It's just absolutely incredible what's going down in our world around us. You can follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Simple, at JChurchRadio. And all of the new Twitter followers, and for those that are here listening to this show tonight that have never been here before, follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Simple. And then hashtag F2B. When you hashtag F2B, that will take you into our sandbox, which is where we hang out every single night. And there are literally thousands of tweets that go down during this show. And the audience out there that doesn't participate in this show live, they listen to the podcast or they listen to the archives. They go to YouTube or the iHeartRadio, wherever they go to listen to the archives. And they don't participate live. They don't know. When I talk about every single night about Twitter and the chat rooms, what goes down with this show, and so there's a lot of people that go, you know what? I'm going to go check out the show. I'm going to go hang out. I'm going to go see what this is about. And then they see what happens in Twitter. They see what happens in the chat room. And they check out all of this stuff. It's amazing. So come over, hang out with us, hashtag F2B on Twitter. All right? You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio, Facebook, YouTube. Everything is Fade to Black. You can go and follow me on my personal page on Facebook. The links are there for that. And also our company page, the radio page over on Facebook. All right? Soon to be, I don't know. I've got some decisions to make. Well, I say I mean we with Rita and I, as to what we're going to do with Facebook. I don't know. More on that in just a bit. And YouTube. Now that On Stellar is here, my family. This is what I'm going to miss about Facebook if we start to close that down. Is the people that I went to school with. And I've got friends on Facebook that I've known. I'm 54. I've got people on Facebook that I've known for 50 years. 54, family members, my aunts and uncles and things, right, that have known me since the day I was born. So I've got all of that. And then, all of your school friends and your work friends and people that you've known for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. They're part of my Facebook community. And I can't lose touch with them. So what do I do with that? Do I abandon? I can't do that, right? So I don't know. I'm going to really curtail my presence on Facebook. and especially after the news that has been breaking over the last few days. And I'll get to that in just a second. So you can still go follow, like, and subscribe momentarily until we start to shut this stuff down. Sandbox is hashtag F2B on Twitter. If you have any questions during the show, you can use hashtag F2BQ. I also have an email, jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. You can hit me up there if you have any questions or comments during the show tonight. The breaking news, aside from the bomb that just exploded again in Austin, Texas, let me pop an update here and see. Injures one in Austin, ATF right here. I don't know what is going on. I don't know. There's another one just went off. Facebook's most valuable asset is what it knows about you. A lot of people, think about advertising, and if you go to Wikipedia or go and read about the history of Facebook and where the revenue comes from, they always talk about advertising. Well, their most valuable asset is what it knows about you. You. I'm specifically saying you. And it sells that data to companies and advertisers. Therefore, they may make a big chunk of their revenue from advertising, but they tailor that advertising to the advertisers because they're collecting data on you. Turn around and sell that. They sell it to other companies, too, as well, that turn around and maybe it's tied back into advertising, but your data is valuable. It's worth money, and they sell it. And they sell it pretty much to anyone who wants to pay for it. Right? And it's billions of dollars per year. It's really big business. Now they've been caught. Their stock is plummeting. Zuckerberg's wealth has shrank about 10 billion ducks over the weekend. Think about that, $10 billion, poof. And right now, he is nowhere to be found. Nobody knows where Mark Zuckerberg is or his wife. More on that in just a bit, but the timing couldn't be better for a new social media platform. And now we have OnStellar. You can officially register for OnStellar. You can go and get your username now. It's very simple to do. Just go to onstellar.com, click on register. If you wish, you can use the promo code Jimmy, and that's there and available to you. And you can get your own promo code if you want to as well. But OnStellar is the next great social platform, and it's based on the blockchain. And the way that this is set up is OnStellar will reward those who contribute, comment, create, and post. The opposite of Facebook or anybody else out there, right? And so if you've got something to say, you want to comment on somebody else's post, or you want to create something, you want to upload something, whatever it is, maybe you've got a book or whatever. You go and you post all of this stuff on Facebook. Facebook is the one making the money. Those days are over. Those days are done. The platform is going to have its own token economy on Stellar. It's going to have its own tokens called Stellar. And for the first time, our community will have a way to support those who have something to say, who have done the research. In the same way that our community has always looked into the future, right, and wondered about the future, OnStellar will prove to be one of the most visionary social platforms in history. So think about that. All right? And with everything that is going down with Facebook and other social media platforms, OnStellar couldn't arrive at a more opportune time for us and our community and for the world. All right? More on that in just a bit. The ECETI Roadshow is going up the west coast of the United States. And if you want to go and participate and hang out with ECETI, just go to the ECETI banner right now, the ECETI Roadshow banner over at jimmychurchradio.com. Full schedule and details is right there. Our next event coming up is June 1st through the 4th, 2018. Contact in the Desert in Indian Wells, Palm Springs at the Renaissance Resort and Spa. I was talking to Laird Scranton right before the show, and he's doing this event up in New York. We'll talk about that tonight. It's really cool, but we're talking about the lack of really cool things to do on the East Coast. all of these great events, it seems like it's all West Coast heavy, and I get that. Where things at East Eddy Ranch, like our Soul Tech Gathering, going down August 9th through the 12th. So that's going down. You have the New Living Expo or the Conscious Life Expo or Contact in the Desert. You have the events in Sedona, Arizona, and they're all West Coast heavy. We've got to get an event on the East Coast, and I was just talking to Laird about that. We need something out there on the East Coast, and I would love to hear from you, and so would Rita. We would love to plan an event out there. We're trying to think of the right city. I was thinking, this is me. This is where I'm like, what about Myrtle Beach? Myrtle Beach has got a Cracker Barrel, and I would love to go to Myrtle Beach. They got an amusement park. They got all those really cool. It's right there on the ocean, and that's me. My Midwest mind. I would love to have an event in Myrtle Beach. But what about Atlanta? Charlotte? Something central on the coast, so everybody from New York and Maine and Boston, they could come down and go south Philadelphia and all of that, and then everybody from Florida and Georgia could go up north, Texas, and Chicago, and just maybe, some central location. What about Memphis? That would be cool. Nashville, maybe. So I'm just thinking out loud here. If there was a nice centralized city that you think we should do an event, let us know, because I would really like to get something going on out there next year. And now don't forget about our podcast. We have over 800 archive shows, just $2 a month. Help support the show. Go and sign up. Click on the banner over at jimmychurchradio.com. You can also become a member, become an official Fade or Not in our membership section. Commercial-free downloadable archives. We had a problem with one of our hard drives here last week. It's since been fixed. It's been backed up and discarded, but our archives weren't getting posted last week. They're all up now, thank goodness. But man, we almost lost a lot of data too. But it's all safe and fixed, and we're all good. But you can get all of that stuff right now in our membership section over on the website. And all of our sponsors, Life Change Tea, GetTheTea.com, River Moon Coffee, New Pharma, Ancient Life Oil, Sacred Skulls, New Mana Food Storage, and Bearing Optics. All of their banners are over at JimmyChurchRadio.com. If you notice, when you go to JimmyChurchRadio.com, there's no AdSense. There's no clicking. There's none of that. The only advertising that we have on our website are our sponsors. That's it. Think about that. So when you go to the website, visit our sponsors. That's how important it is. And how we look at things. Our sponsors have been with us for a very long time. Yeah, we have a big audience, and that's why they're here, sure. But they also care about Fade to Black. They care about the Fade or Nots. They care about what we talk about on this show. That's why they are here. They are us. They are one of you. Visit all of our sponsors. It helps support the show, okay? All right. I want to jump ahead and talk about, we're going to have Laird Scranton here in a few minutes. But this weekend was one of the most explosive weekends for the world. And I'm talking about Cambridge Analytica. Now, I know you've read some of the news. It's a really big deal. Facebook, Zuckerberg, and politics and all of that stuff. Cambridge Analytica is this embattled data analytics company, best known for its work with our president, Donald Trump, and his campaign. But they've just suspended its CEO, one Alexander Nix. Now, there's a bunch of undercover reporting that's been going on, and some videotape that I watched today many times. Oh, I did. Showing him discussing bribery, entrapment, Ukrainian women. Oh, yeah. All just crazy stuff. Nix's suspension is immediate, and this is according to Cambridge Analytica, quoting here, pending a full independent investigation. I have no idea. They're not going to bring this guy back. But that was their statement that they released today. They had to get out in front of the story. Man, I love my River Moon coffee, man. Oof. They had to get out in front of the story because the statement was released before Channel 4 News in the UK was about to air another report, a second in a series of exposés about the work of the company. The report today featured undercover footage of Nix claiming that he met Trump many times. I don't care about any of that. And that the company was responsible for a wide swath of Trump campaign's activity, that he put Trump in office, just going off the rails. And again, I don't care about that. He went on to say, we did all the research, we did all the data, all the analytics, all the targeting. Right? He said, we ran all the digital campaign, the television campaign, and our data informed all the strategy. Alex Taylor, labeled as the chief data officer for Cambridge Analytica, is recorded separately as saying that the firm's analysis was responsible for Trump's electoral college performance. Now, let's stop right there. Let's just pump the brakes. This show is not about politics. And I really, the media is going to say a lot of things. They're going to say that the fact that Cambridge and Nix worked for Trump, that's not important. It's not. That happens all the time. Their methods, well, that's for others to judge. What is important is where they got their data. And they got that data from Facebook. The smear campaign that's going to go out, whatever. It doesn't matter if it's Trump, if Hillary would have gotten elected, there would have been involvement there. None of that matters. It's not a red or blue situation here. It's not. And that's how Facebook is going to spin it. That's how the media is going to spin it, because that's where they think the story is. And I'm telling you, it is not. They're going to try to spin it into the Russians and Republican, Democrat. I'm telling you, they're going to try to make it red-blue. They're going to probably pull a Mueller into this story. But the outrage will be pointed by the public squarely at Facebook. I'm telling you, and the blowback is happening now. Nearly 2 billion users. What level of trust has been lost? 2 billion users, and what Zuckerberg has to say about this is not happening because he has disappeared. Has Facebook turned into one big psychological and brain mining machine? And the answer is yes. What was once that cool platform that I was just talking about to reach out to friends and family, finding names of somebody that you haven't talked to in 20 years, and you see it on somebody's friends list, like, dude, man, he sat next to me in fourth grade. Oh, man, cool. And you reach out and you guys talk, and, you know, that was Facebook, right? It's gone. It's gone. It has turned into something so big, servers and engineers with so much money to do whatever they want, to gather statistics on its users, everything. And I do mean everything that you do. They use it and sell it. They use that data, turn around and influence world events, like the United States presidential election, for instance. It doesn't matter who won. The fact that their data can be sold and used for whatever reason, that is scary, and it's really scary. And if you just stop and contemplate these things. Founded in 2004. You know, that's yesterday. Since 2006, Facebook has grown in just 12 short years to controlling almost 1/3 of the world's population. And they control 1/2 of it because the bottom third doesn't have a computer. Think about it. It's too much control. Monopoly here is too small of a word. It's not the United States. It is the world. And when you listen to Alexander Nix brag on hidden camera about the things that they do, about the things that they can do, the things that they want to do, it just blows your mind. Absolutely no morals. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about you. He doesn't care about your family. He doesn't care about anyone else. He doesn't care about anything. He's got the data, and he'll use it for whatever reason he wants, just as long as he gets paid. And he's proud of it. He's bragging. He's happy. He's smiling. He's drinking. He's got the data. And again, it doesn't matter who he's representing. It could be anyone or any country. If you stop and think about it, the real question is, what data has been sold already in the past? To whom, and what did they use it for? It doesn't matter. They'll sell it to anybody. Seriously. And let this be a warning to all of us. The Channel 4 videos are just one tiny example of what goes on in this world today. Our community has always known this, but the rest of the world now can see it for themselves. Everything is not what it seems. We need to question everything. We have to. We are not crazy. Our community, we've been talking about this for so long, 1984, George Orwell, and it turns out that our greatest fear, the data mining of our emotions and the things that make us happy and sad and our dogs and politics, it's nuts. On Stellar and what it represents could not have arrived at a better time. Let me make one other statement here. The stuff that was mined was used and mined from, against and from those out there that were making political statements, that were out there lambasting their neighbors and causing fights. That right there is who they want to target. Those. And boom, this data mining comes back and it infects their news feed because they know that it's going to affect that person to the tune of 50 million people. It was targeted. It was scientific. It was psychological. And it worked. Think about that for a second. It's a mind-blowing situation. It worked. All of the outrage, all of the dividing and the anger and the insanity that happened in 2016 and 2017 still goes on today, was used, targeted right back at exactly what would affect somebody to the point where it was making them crazy. And it worked. It worked. Facebook needs to be shamed. And this selling of user data, for whatever reason, and especially to a company like Cambridge Analytica that is there to use it as a psychological ploy right back on us here in the United States, think about that. It's not what you think. There's a reason why Zuckerberg is running and hiding right now. He knows this is a really, really big deal. It's Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Now, how does all of this tie in to Laird Scranton? I'll always connect those dots. When I come back, I've got an update on the Nazca mummies. And again, it's not going to be what you think. It's Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Top of the hour, Laird Scranton. When I come back, update on the Nazca mummies. Time to get your mind blown. On the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I'll be right back.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Natural Health Solutions with Chris and Ronnie.
Hey, Ronnie, how you doing?
Great, Chris.
Now, you're the CEO of GetTheTea.com, right?
Yes, I am.
What is GetTheTea.com? I mean, is this tea you buy in a store?
Well, no, it's not. Life Change Tea is just that, life-changing. Life Change Tea is an herbal tea that gently cleanses your body from intruders.
What do you mean by intruders?
Well, intruders are toxins, chemicals, GMOs, heavy metals, and more. They're in our food, in our water, in our air we breathe.
Seriously?
Yeah, seriously.
And Life Change Tea will help you with removing these, as you say, intruders?
That's right, Chris.
Are there side effects with this tea?
Well, you might lose a little weight. When you clean your colon, you lose weight, you feel better, and you have more energy.
Wow. Ronnie, where can people purchase Life Change Tea?
Oh, that's easy. GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com.
Ronnie, I want to thank you for being on the show. People, don't forget, GetTheTea.com.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA. The Planet.
Win big with KGRA this summer. Tickets and hotel accommodations to the biggest conferences, autographed books and DVDs, chances to win all-inclusive conference cruises, and private dinners with your favorite KGRA hosts. Click the contest tab at kgraradio.com for your chance to win big this summer. Your contact for the best alternative talk radio on the planet. kgraradio.com.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This portion of the show is proudly brought to you by Life Change Tea. Starting with their super strength tea, I'm serious. We use Life Change Tea products every single day. Everybody here is on the program, friends, family, everybody on the Fade to Black team. I take the Coral Sea, I take the G.I. Joy, Pine Bark, Moringa, the drops. I do it all. Just go to Life Change Tea. Click on the banners over at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code FADER is going to get you free shipping, and you've got to do the Life Change Tea. I'm serious. It's a life changer. No doubt about it. All right, now, top of the hour, Laird Scranton's going to be here. We're going to be talking about Egypt and what is going down over there. Big news. And also Gaia and the mummies. Now, the Nazca mummies. And I want to talk to you about that for a second, because last week, RT published an article, some of which I will read to you here in just a minute. But that article suggested that the results were in, and it was misleading. As it turns out, they were not. And they, at least the results were not when they posted this article last week. Okay, so let me make that clear. And I've been on the phone with Gaia over the last few days, and I've got some more info on some other things, too, that I'm going to cover here in just a bit. But I was supposed to have Jay Widener on the show tonight to respond to it and talk about those results. And we have to put it off for a few days because Gaia is finishing their latest video and that release about the Nazca mummies and their ongoing report. And we were hoping that was going to be ready today, and we were going to tie that into the show and Jay and go and check out the new video. And so the new video report should be ready tomorrow. I look to announce that tomorrow on the show and maybe Thursday, but nonetheless, it's imminent. It's finished. They've got some stuff that they need to tighten up with it. You know how it goes with a video production. So we couldn't make it for today. And it's this. Its release not only is going to have some more results in it, but it's a really big deal. And the RT article not only didn't have access to that, but to me, as I read through it, I was like, it's a little misleading. So I'm going to get to that in just a second. I've always tried to stay out in front of this story, and I will always continue to do that. And so let me do this. Let me get back to the RT article. It starts out with this. This is quoting from RT. It says, Russian researchers have analyzed tissue samples from one of the mysterious alien creatures uncovered in Peru last year. The mummy, with an elongated skull, had only 3 fingers, has excited ufologists since its discovery. The article continues with this. Preliminary analysis of the tissue samples revealed that the mummy, found in a tomb near Nazca lines of Peru and named Maria, is a humanoid being with 23 pairs of chromosomes. So far, so human. This is quoting directly from the article. It dates back to the 5th century AD, a full millennium before Europeans discovered America. Continues, a professor of the National Research University in St. Petersburg, Konstantin Korotkov, and Natalia Zalnazaya, radiologist and specialist in computer tomography at the International Biological Systems Institute, collected the tissue samples in Peru and brought them back to St. Petersburg for analysis. The article continues. X-ray and computer tomography showed Maria had a different rib structure to that of humans. Keel, that's K-E-E-L, keel-shaped in the upper part with a handful of semicircular ribs. The cage protects the creature's internal organs, which do resemble those of humans. It says scientists also found Maria was embalmed in cadmium chloride white powder, the antibacterial effect of which has preserved Maria to this day. Now, what this article, now let me be clear here, okay? The article tried to suggest that there's 23 chromosomes here and that it's human, okay? And that is misleading. There is no DNA results here. By the way, this is pretty much the whole article. And that's misleading. There's nothing here that speaks about DNA or percentage of DNA or any of that. But what I find really curious here is the writer of this article didn't realize what they had, right, in the article. They finish the article with this. Scientists also found Maria was embalmed in cadmium chloride white powder. Now you have to stop right there. There has been speculation out there in the community, the debunkers and the skeptics, of which there should be, right? This white powder, you know, what it is. It's chalk, it's this, it's that. It was used to hide this, it was used for this, it was used for that. Nobody knew. And, well, no. People said it was certain things because of the way that it looked. But what they didn't know is what it was. And now we know it's cadmium chloride. Let's enjoy this moment for a second. Cadmium chloride is a white crystalline compound of cadmium and chlorine. This is where I want you to go and start doing your research. This is extraordinary. Cadmium chloride is used for the preparation of, amongst other things, but check this out, of cadmium sulfide. It's cadmium yellow. It's a inorganic pigment in paint. Now, before I continue, we're talking about something that was applied to a mummy 1,500 years ago, or thereabouts. You have to ask yourself, where would they get this kind of compound? And how would they know what it is? So there's that element of it. Today, in modern chemistry and industry, it's a compound that is used for a variety of things. And one of them is pigment, yellow, cadmium yellow. And if you've ever been in artwork or if you've ever been involved in production, printing, and so forth, you know what cadmium yellow is. So, it's also used, cadmium chloride, is used in photocopying. It's used for dyeing because it's a dye, can be used as a dye, and also in electroplating. It was applied to these mummies 1,500 years ago. Now listen to what I'm saying. You go and you start to do a little bit of research. Now, apparently, it preserved these mummies so perfectly, and when you look at the x-rays and the MRIs and the body scans, you can see that the organs are intact. The bones are intact. The skin is intact. They are perfectly preserved. Now, the preservation looks like it's from cadmium chloride. It also has to do with the high desert and the atmosphere and so forth of Peru, of course, right? But it's the combination of the two. Now, it goes one step further, and this is where, for me, it gets mind-blowing. We can look at mummies all around the world. We can look at all cultures did some sort of mummification. And you can go back to, and you think about some of the things that we knew about when we were growing up, like shrunken heads in Africa and certainly the Caribbean. And just there was always a preservation of bodies after death and trying to preserve them. All right? But of course, when we think about mummies, we think about Egypt. And I have seen in museums, I have seen mummies from Egypt. I know that you have. I have certainly seen the mummy from 1932 or whenever. And we always think about Egypt first when we think about mummies, right? Well, yeah, thank you for this, Allison Bell. Thank you for that. Is this cadmium chloride? Where do you find it in nature? Well, wait for it. In Egyptian date palm pollen. Did you hear what I just said? Now, when we go to have that much, 1,500 years ago, that much cadmium chloride to be sprinkling it and coating mummies with it, you've got a resource for it. You also have to know what it's used for. And there has to be a history. And there has to be some teaching going on. But one of the biggest sources for it and easiest sources to get to is Egyptian date palm pollen. Now, this is where all of you, and this is why I love this show, and this is why I love this audience, is now I need you to go out and start researching. I've given you all of the data, and I didn't sell it to you. Cadmium chloride. And when you see the uses for it and what in Egypt and what they were doing with it thousands of years ago and how they collected it, there is no mention about cadmium chloride in Peru, date palm pollen, and especially at that altitude and what is going on in the Nazca Plains. This is a crazy. Yes, cadmium is really toxic, and that's where I'm going next. They were using it in Egypt for, amongst other things, but always it turns to this, especially thousands of years ago. Fertility in men, right? Like to the 10th power. You guys are funny. Can you say cadmium chloride? I know, right? This is a big deal. So then they found out millennia ago in Egypt that it was toxic. Yeah, what is Egyptian date palm pollen doing in Peru? There you go. It is an amazing. Now, that's what I texted Jay today. As I'm doing, look, I'm just a radio show host. All right, I'm somebody that's out there that's curious, and I'm certainly all about Egypt and our community and things. And I'm always looking at things, and it's just funny how I can go and look at a few things and start telling, and going through and doing a little bit of research. And then finding out amazing stuff like this. Yeah, Gabe just said, what a coincidence. Not. Right? Egyptian date palm pollen. Oh, yeah, it's abundant in Peru. I know, everybody's saying the same thing. So, now, I spent about an hour today on this. Now that I've let the cat out of the bag with this audience, and I've given you the things to go and to look into, let's find out the natural sources for Egyptian or for cadmium chloride. Where does it exist in nature? Where was it? And to have a powder like this, straight line from Cairo to the pyramids in Peru, exactly right. Something funky here is going on. And Bella Washington, Nazca mummies were preserved using cadmium chloride, which comes from Egyptian date palm pollen. Watch. Oh, is this... okay, so this showed up in a newspaper article somewhere? Okay. I love you guys. This is what I'm talking about. I didn't have the time to go and click on 8 million links today. I just went straight to published journals and industrial information on cadmium chloride. But to have all of this just surface like this, there's something going on. So, all of you, let's go. Let's find out. Thursday night, Fader Night is coming up. And let's talk about this. By that time, hopefully, Gaia will have its new series up. I will say I can't tip my hat to what those DNA results are. That's up to Gaia, and when we get Widener on, he'll talk about this further. But let's just say this: there's some big surprises that are about to surface with this. What's this? Yeah, you guys, I can't keep up with Twitter. You guys are doing too much. All right, I've got about 10 minutes left. And I'll take a couple of phone calls. 323-825-5045, 323-275-9228. 9695. Let me get this going. I didn't turn on the other phone bank. Okay, so that's up and live. Okay, so we're good to go there. And the reason why I have presented it like I have tonight, it's actually very, very simple. When we look at what is going on with Facebook, what is going on with data, what is going on with knowledge, what is going on with not only how there seems to be a big lie going on out there and the manipulation of us and what is coming back to us and what we are told. And then we have a case like this with the Nazca mummies and this particular compound on the outside of these mummies, how it could directly tie back to Egypt is astonishing to me. And then we have what is going on over in Egypt right now, this very second, and the manipulation of what is being discovered out there on the Giza Plateau, when we were told year after year after year there's nothing left to discover out there. And then we have this direct connection, and then what is going on right now in Giza, and how this knowledge is being held back from us. We have to, as a community, we have to get together. We have to stay in front of this. We have to do our own research. The point that I will always drive home with all of you is we have individually some of the smartest people out there that on this planet in our community. And it doesn't matter if it's video analysis, photo analysis, ancient history, facts, data. It could be modern. It could be about space. It could be about black holes. It could be about physics. It could be about ghosts. It could be about any subject that you want. You can pick it out. There is one of our friends out there in the community that knows all of it, right? And so we pop it out there, and I throw this out there. Collectively, we will be able to go and get this research done on our own. I don't need the man. I've got you guys. And I go and I pick something out. So this is what's fascinating to me. RT puts out this article, and they think it's all funny, ha-ha. You know, and they're going to crunch this. And, yeah, Jay Widener just said, WTF. I'm telling you. He's listening, Jay. You see, Jay, you know I love you. And this is what's so great about our community. You know, and we're going to get together, and I'm telling you, this situation with these mummies and what Gaia has done is some of the biggest news ever. Ever. I am so fascinated with it. And now that this connection is there, and the writer for RT had this information right in front of them, could have made that the most explosive article ever to be released, and blew it because they just don't want to go and do a little bit of research. And I did. And all of you Fadernauts are going to band together. We're going to find out. We're going to figure this thing out. And I cannot wait for this next release from Gaia. I cannot wait. It all ties together. Let's go to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Yeah, this is Phil here in the Northwest.
Hey, Phil in the Northwest. Is this the craziest news like in ever?
Well, it's pretty interesting, but I mean, we're talking about 1500 AD.
No, 500 AD.
Oh, okay. Well, that might still work because I think that there's been some evidence that the Egyptians had like seagoing boats, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's no question about that part. I mean, they not only were they able to, move up and down the Nile, but they were trading. You got to go all the way back, ancient Egypt and the Phoenicians and what they were doing in the Mediterranean. Don't you think it's possible to have sailed not only out of the Nile into the Mediterranean, but out through the Straits of Gibraltar and past Spain and across the Atlantic? There's evidence of the Egyptians in Australia and getting, doing that, getting to South and Central America for the Egyptians. It's just, that's just a hop, skip, and a jump, man. It's just right across the Atlantic out of the Straits of Gibraltar and stopping by the Caribbean and getting a good suntan and heading south, right into Panama. Well, so, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, there was one other thing there that ties into this, is that there was a report about in the the Grand Canyon.
Yes.
Of a whole bunch of Egyptian coffins and
what they
hieroglyphs and everything.
Yeah. We're still looking for that. The news reports that came out about that, at the turn of the century, about that expedition, that they found everything, that the Smithsonian showed up, filled up a bunch of trucks and split, and then said nothing to see here. The news reports were pretty solid. When I don't know if you've ever flown over the Grand Canyon. I have. No. I have probably 100 times, and every time I fly over it, I look, and no matter what you think you know about it, it's frigging big. And I'm not being cavalier here. It is ginormous. And
I know about the power of the Colorado River. I used to live in Denver, Colorado, so.
Well, and so the thing is, when you fly over the Grand Canyon, and I've been right there, man. I've been to all the different lookouts and looked down into it. And the first thing you think of is, man, you know what? I bet man has set foot on like 1% of what is here. There's just no way it's all been discovered and looked at, and there's just no, it's too big. It's too massive. So there you go. So, Phil, thank you for the phone call. I got a jet.
Oh, one other thing, man. One other thing. I wanted to let you know that I was doing a Reiki healing for the world, and I sent it out to the higher selves of everybody and Fadernauts and all that.
Right.
So you just need to tap into that, and it'll come down to you. And there was a lot of energy because the sun was really shining down, and it was quite powerful.
Oh, man, thank you for that.
I want to share that with everybody.
You got it, Phil. Thank you so much, my friend.
You have a good one.
Yeah, you too. Great night on the show. Great phone call. Thank you for that, Phil. And let's see here. Another important factor is cadmium is that it melts at a mere 610 degrees Fahrenheit. Not only that, Richard Dunnett suggested that the Great Pyramid was used as a reaction chamber for zinc and hydrochloric acid. The acid with cadmium produces cadmium chloride. Shut up. See, that's what I'm talking about. The Fadernauts. Best audience in the world. You guys are the best. That's from, who's that from? That's from Eddie in Pennsylvania. Thank you for that, Eddie. All right, I'm going to get out of here and bring in Laird Scranton. We're going to talk about everything that's going on over in Egypt. And again, like I said, it all ties together. I cannot wait for this new Gaia video. The next report, the next installment, we're days away. All right? We're days away from this. Muriel's Jimmy Church. Be right back with our guest, Laird Scranton. It's going on tonight. This is Fade to Black. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Hello, Fadernauts. This is Jimmy Church, and I'm introducing New Pharma, a company whose products are based on science. Human function based on the endocannabinoid system, or ECS. New Pharma firmly believes in this science, and their research indicates that support of the ECS provides the beneficial effects for a healthy lifestyle. New Pharma's science includes relief capsules for pain relief, sleep capsules, which are natural support for occasional sleeplessness. Foundation is support for your ECS, and Fit capsules support your active lifestyle. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2B for a 33% discount on all of their products. or visit newpharma.com for all of the knowledge on the science. That's GNUpharma.com. Go back, Lee Tappy.
Hello, I'm Cadmium. You're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier, and this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. Yes. We are also Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier, and I'm Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers, and you're listening to Jimmy Church. The Revolution.
Ancient Life Oil. Life-changing. The real oil. CBD is truly ancient life oil from the source. This oil has no psychoactive effect and is also legal in all 50 states. When you're healthy, you're happy. The truth about this wonderful plant is that it wants to give back to mankind life, longevity, and happiness. Ancient Life Oil are golden grade, all organic, non-GMO, and infused with high-quality liquid coconut oil. It's simple. Just go to ancientlifeoil.com today. That's ancientlifeoil.com. The best, purest, organic, and non-GMO CBD in the world. Go back, Lee Tappy. The statements made regarding these products have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Please consult your healthcare professional about potential interactions or other possible complications before using any product.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, our guest is Laird Scranton. This segment of Fade to Black is proudly brought to you by River Moon Coffee, makers of the Fade to Black blend. Use your promo code right now, F2B Blend. F, the number 2, blend. F2 Blend. And F2B Blend. You'll get 15% off of your order. Just go to the River Moon Coffee banner at Jimmy Church Radio. Laird Scranton is an independent software designer from Albany, New York, who writes about ancient mysteries, cosmology, and language. His work includes articles published in the University of Chicago's Anthropology News Academic Journal, in Temple University's Encyclopedia of African Religion, and in the Vassar Quarterly Magazine. His book, The Science of the Dogon, was taught at Colgate University under the title Hidden Meanings, a study of the founding symbols of civilization. His books include The Sacred Symbols of the Dogon, The Science of the Dogon, The Cosmological Origins of Myth and Symbol, and his latest, of course, The Mystery of Scarabray. Tonight we're going to discuss the latest breaking news out of Egypt about the newly discovered chamber above the Grand Gallery in the Great Pyramid and other rumors that are going around right now in the Giza Plateau. And I would like to welcome back our good friend, the one and only Laird Scranton. Laird, how are you, my friend?
Hey, Jimmy, I'm great. How are you? You know, it's the equinox. What a great time to be on Fade to Black.
I know, right? A coinkydink? I think not, especially when it comes to you, Laird. Think nothing like a good synchronicity, right?
That's true.
I got to let me say that you have such a unique voice, and I just love to hear your voice. It's always it's academic, but it's also the voice of reason, and it's just great to hear your voice, and I'm just glad to have you back on the show.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I have had a friend the other day suggest I ought to read my books to tape, and I thought I'd never even considered the possibility of doing that. I'd never imagined that my voice is anything out of the ordinary here.
No, see, the thing is, and I really mean this too. In all of your interviews and video stuff that you have done over the years, whenever you sit down and you're speaking to somebody, whether it's John Anthony West or whoever, and you start talking, I'm going to tell you, Laird, people shut up. And you've got that ability to communicate, and part of that is your voice, and then you have the intellect to back it up and take that the right way or the wrong way, but people listen. And no, I think that's a great idea. Book on tape, read your own. That's a winner, man.
Oh, wow. So these are certainly interesting times we're living in. There's an awful lot going on in Egypt these days.
What was funny is I just you were at a loss for words. When was the last time that happened? Now, let's actually, you're absolutely right with that. So let's kind of start there. Why, I want your opinions on a few things, but one of those that is foremost, and you've been dealing with this forever in your career, why the secrecy and the cloak that is over Giza, ancient history in general, and in Egypt or in Africa? But why do they censor us? Why not just present this stuff? What's the big secret? Why are they trying to cover things up?
Well, careers are made and broken on the kinds of information that might potentially be in new chambers they find and new locations they uncover. So I'm sure they try to hold it very close to their vest, especially if they have a sense that they're on the brink of a discovery of some kind, a major discovery. But we've had an awful lot of things reported lately in Egypt. I mean, every other week there's some new major find.
But yes, and the answer is yes. But of course, with your research with the Dogon, also Scarabray, which oddly enough, all of this is connected, right? Everything is connected. But with even your research, it takes you to get it out there. If you hadn't written your books or done your cosmology and symbolist work that you have done, it would have never gotten out. And that's the way that they want it.
Well, but there are people, the John Anthony West and the Robert Bovals of the world are making it a lot easier for the people like me. They are, and the Graham Hancocks, they broke through the walls. Now there's an audience, and there's growing means of getting information out, and there's lots and lots of people interested in the subject, and they've done a great service to everybody.
You just mentioned Jaws, and so did I, John Anthony West. I'd be remiss not to ask you. You spent a lot of time with him, and you've done a lot of research. You guys were partners in crime there for a very long time, and I really love the way that the two of you depended on each other for so many different things, and your interactions over the years were just priceless to hear you two guys just go and converse. Do you miss him?
I do. As fate would have it here, John's last month was spent in a hospital only minutes from where I live. So we spent quite a lot of time, have been spending quite a lot of time with John's family. My daughter happened to work as a nurse at the same hospital, so she was checking in on him all the time. And so we were benefited from getting some insight into some of his final days. They really pulled out all the stops to try to treat his cancer. His family just lifted heaven and earth to try to make things happen, but I guess it wasn't to be. Yeah. John was a good guy, although I have to tell you, John was always entirely generous to me, and I remember being at a party at his house one summer afternoon, populated by friends of all walks of life of his. And I was having a conversation with one of them, and I explained all the things John had done for me. He personally shopped publishers for my books. He introduced me at conferences, things like that, saying what a generous person he was. And the friends sort of chuckled, and I wonder what they were chuckling about. And I asked them, and they said, well, that's not the way John is at all.
Oh, that's funny.
He had his curmudgeonly side, so I'm sure there are people who only saw that. He didn't suffer impertinence. He would speak his mind. Was not a person to hold back, so I suppose that put some people off.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I appreciated about him a lot. First off, from the very, very beginning, he always treated me with respect from the word go. And so we always had that cool part of the relationship. But I'm going to tell you right now, he corrected me a lot. He would stop me mid-sentence and tell me that I was wrong. Privately, this is private stuff, right? And he's just like, no, Church, stop right there. And he was not afraid to do that. Not afraid to do that. It's not the right way to put it. He didn't care. Right, and that's the thing. It didn't matter if it was public or private. He was just who he was, and curmudgeon is a good way to put it.
But, he had the sensibility of a critic and the intelligence of a very good critic, and he knew what he was talking about. If he took a stance on something, this was a reasoned stance. He knew what he was talking about. He'd done his research. And so if you were in disagreement with him, it was time to find the umbrella over both opinions, because he wasn't going to be wrong about it. Facts were going to prove him out.
And, with everything that is going down today, not only with Egypt, but the world in general, I just wish that he was here with us, because he deserves it, man. He deserves so much. And there's things that are going down right now that he's a big part of. And you know what? I miss him. He was a really cool dude. Do you remember the last time you spoke to him?
Well, I visited him in the hospital. My son Isaac and I went over and visited him at the hospital for a while. It was the last time we spoke to him, but he was intubated at the time, so it was a one-way conversation. He couldn't really speak back, but he was clearly in there, and he clearly wanted to talk. I hadn't seen him for a little while. He had been in Egypt conducting tours,
right?
And at the point where he got sick, then he was taken to Houston for 6 months for fairly radical treatments for cancer that were actually pretty effective, and then brought back to his home, which is about 45 minutes south of where I live in Albany. And but he arrived back in town the day before I was due to leave to go to the UK last year for a tour of northern Scotland. So it took a while to get to see him, but we were very fortunate to have the last month or so with his family and with him, and to feel like we had contributed a little bit. We were sort of pit crew for his family because we had a place where they could flop when they were exhausted. They were sort of tag teaming time in the hospital with him, where each family member would do 2 days in a row with him and then be relieved by the next family member. Very, very coordinated, cooperative group. They're really neat people.
Yeah, great family. And again, they've all been very, very cool with us and the Fadernauts in this show. And man, I just miss the guy, And so there you go.
I do too.
So enough of that. I'm wiping tears. So let's move on. Right now, this is what he's saying. He's like, okay, Church, Scranton. Okay, move on, guys. Let's go. Let's move on from this. And so let's do just that. The quotes from Zahi Hawass over the years, which we laugh about a lot. Nothing to see here. There's nothing new in Egypt.
You do such a good Zahi
impression. That is certainly not the case, is it?
No, not the case at all. I mean, as I said, every week there's something that turns up that is potentially life-changing or earth-shaking, history-making. Although a lot of this, I mean, you wonder how much of this is built up to the opening of the Grand Egyptian Museum that is going to open in 2018. But hopefully there's be new interesting finds to be reported at that opening. That would be great. It'd be wonderful if they knew what was inside this new chamber that they discovered in the pyramid.
Well, okay, so let's tackle that rumor right now. The rumor is that they have gotten inside of the chamber. They know what is in there, and they are going to display it. They're going to make the announcement officially shortly, and that it's going to be on display when the new Cairo Museum opens later this year. Now that is some pretty heavy stuff. Why? Okay, So let's start here. If the rumor is true, what do you think they found?
Well, the most likely thing I think they found is a possibility that they found an iron throne. There are, in Egyptian myths and Egyptian texts, they talk about an iron throne of Osiris. And the speculation, it's just speculation, but is that they may have actually stumbled across this actual throne. It would be iron-plated throne with using meteoric iron. They have an idea of what it looks like because they've seen other examples of thrones from the same era. And if so, then there are potential implications about what this chamber is for. Maybe we should give some background on what the chamber is.
Right.
They discovered using sounding techniques, technological sounding techniques, they were able to determine that there was an undiscovered chamber inside the Great Pyramid that's located, it's about the same size as what's called the Grand Gallery that goes up at an angle inside the Great Pyramid, and it sits above it sort of horizontally and is set so that one end of it is just under the apex of the pyramid. And so it was a complete surprise when they found it. Nobody really seemed to have any idea that they weren't actually looking for it. I think they were hoping to find some chambers and happened across this. They can't tell. They don't have a detailed enough image to have any idea of what it's really shaped like. What its structure is. But they can get an idea of how big it is and where it's located and how it's situated. It also seems to be connected to, if you remember about the mysterious shafts that go up from like the king's chamber and the queen's chamber that don't actually reach the outside of the pyramid, but they're these shafts that go at certain angles. There's been speculation that those align to certain star groups. Remember, there was a robotic engineer named Rudolf Gantenbrink who designed a robot to go up into one of those shafts to take pictures. Actually, he designed a couple of them. And in 1992 and 93, they filmed. There was a big live documentary, where they were sending this robot up the shaft to try to figure out what was at the end of the shaft. First time they were a little disappointed because what they found was there was a doorway blocking the end of the shaft. There was a point where they couldn't go past to move through. And so then they designed another robot, came back so that it had a little drill attached to it so they could drill a little like keyhole, peephole into the stone and try to get a peek through as to what was beyond that doorway. And I think they discovered a second doorway.
A second block. And what was funny about that is Zahi kicked Gantenbrink out of Egypt, right? And stopped that. And so a couple of years later, he designs his own robot, and he wants to steal the spotlight. So they go up, they drill, and you know what? He asked for it. Another block on the other side. And I just
Well, what's interesting is that there were all sorts of predictions made beforehand, by all the big players in my field of study about what might be found back there. John Anthony West was one of those. He had commented that he thought there would be nothing back there but core masonry behind the door. That's pretty close. There was another block, which is core masonry, although it looks like it's also another door. Robert Bauval thought that there'd be a statue discovered at the end of the shaft based on certain references he had. But there are all sorts of different predictions made. Still, we don't have a clear understanding of why would they put such a tiny shaft that no one could go through to lead to a door that you could never possibly use.
Now, do you remember, I can get some photographs of this, I can get them posted up, but there was a little bit of writing to the right on, in that little cube there, the empty space between the Gantenbrink block and the new block. There was something written there, and with your symbolist background, you can read anything. What do you think?
I don't have a read on that particular glyph, and it wasn't really clear enough for me to get a read on. I know there also looked like housings for copper handles.
Yep.
I know that sometimes they would lift these blocks of stone using copper handles. It looks like maybe some had originally been attached to the doorway block, and maybe that's how they put it in place originally. But yes, there was a glyph of some kind. I'll do some checking and see if there's any further image that's a better quality image where we can figure out what that glyph means.
Yeah. I'm looking at it here, and I've checked this out so many times in the past. I'm going to post it. I always thought that the middle guy was a humanoid figure. It looks like a head with legs, like a stick figure, right?
Uh-huh.
And so I'm going to post this now, but there are definitely 3 glyphs here. There are 3 of something. I don't know how else to explain it.
Yeah, I can see them too. The pictures that I had seen of them were pretty fuzzy, but I don't know if they have a better image. I hadn't seen a better quality image of them. But it looks like 3 figures, in keeping with some of the figures you see drawn in Egyptian artwork.
Yeah, everybody's posting these now. Let me get this up here on Twitter really quick for everybody. What's interesting for me about this is that it's the construction of the pyramid. You have to think about the angle of the shaft, how perfect that the shaft needs to be in the designing of everything to get it up, and how they included it in. But they marked that spot with these 2 blocks with these glyphs, and so they say something, and they were there for a reason.
Actually, one of those glyphs, I found a recent photo of it, and one of those glyphs, the one in the middle, that looks like a little figure with a round head and sort of a Y-shaped body, that is a glyph that in certain cultures that I study represents the concept of an ancestor. Now, in some languages, the circular head is not filled in. In other languages, it's filled in. With the Naki or the Naxi in Tibet, they fill in that head, and the implication is it represents them as being black people. It's understood that the Naki in Tibet were originally black Africans, and so much so that the word Na in China and Tibet took on the meaning of black, even though it didn't in Egypt or other places. In China, where it was unusual to see a black person, that round head represented the idea of a black ancestor. So it's very interesting to see that figure here, because that's a glyph you can see with the Bambara in Africa. The Naki have it. I've seen similar drawings like on Dogon cliff drawings. That's a very interesting.
Yeah, it is, and then so the 2 on either side, the one up on top, I don't even know how to explain it. It's square on the top, it's round on the bottom. There is an unpainted round section in the middle where you can see the stone coming through. I don't even know how to describe that. And then the other one is like a parallelogram, the one that's on the right. And also the right below the 2 legs on the stick figure dude clearly are 2 dots. I don't know if those represent.
It could be that those were extensions originally of the leg, and maybe something has deteriorated. But
yeah, very interesting, and I've always wondered about that. How do we go off on that? I loved Gate and Brink's door, man.
Well, those shafts seem to have an alignment with this chamber that they discovered. So it's theoretically possible. There's some theorists who are saying, look, maybe these doors are an entryway into that chamber that they have never seen before. There's an archaeologist by the name of, Giulio Magli, who wrote an academic paper. This is the paper that's speculating that maybe they've discovered a throne in there.
Right.
And his idea is that throne might be situated at the far end of that new chamber, where it would align with the apex of the pyramid. He's not saying that he has firm factual information to base that idea on, but I'm sure based on textual references that he has inferred this in one way or another.
Well, I wanted to ask you this. If they were able to get into, which apparently they've gotten into this new chamber that is discovered, how do they pull that off with all of the tourism? You know, this is at the top of the Grand Gallery. I'm envisioning, the entrance at the top of the Grand Gallery, at the top of the stairs before you get into the King's Chamber. That's where they would access it and move up into it. How could they do that without being discovered or seen doing this?
Well, I know that periodically the Great Pyramid is not available to tourists to go into. There are periods of time where it's closed. But it seems like that would be an awfully public area to be trying to carve out rock or whatever to try to get into a chamber. It should be pretty obvious if they were doing it. They'd be packing out material that they dug out, and there'd be dust and there'd be noise and hide. I'm not sure how they would hide that.
Yeah, and you've been in the King's Chamber, right? So when you're at the top of those stairs and you look up where the three trap doors, right, the three trap granite blocks were originally sealing the King's Chamber. Right. When you go, I haven't been in there. I've seen enough video of it. But wouldn't it be obvious to tourists that later, after they've blasted into this entrance or how jackhammered into it, however they did it, that it would be obvious to tourists that are, or other people that, frequent, what about the tour guides and the other amateur Egyptologists that are hanging out at the Giza Plateau, that they would walk up and go, hey, wait a minute.
Well, there are narrow passageways. I mean, even the Grand Gallery is off of a set of narrow passageway. So there's nothing saying that there might not be something that's out of the way that they could be working in, an area they can be working in that your average tourist wouldn't see. But still, just the way the pyramid conducts sound, how would they ever hide the fact that they were drilling or using explosives to blow out, and what could they possibly do that's not going to be permanently defacing of the interior of the pyramid?
Now, there's also another rumor going around. We're at the bottom of the hour. Only got about a minute. But there's another rumor going around that they've discovered. We knew that they discovered another chamber last year through the same project, the Scans Pyramid Project, and that there may be a passage connecting the lower chamber that is next to the ground to this chamber up here. Do you think that they could have accessed it from the ground and not necessarily from the top?
Yeah, if there's more going on there than they've let on, they probably could. Based on the scans that I saw, or at least what they released publicly, didn't look like there was anything connecting to that chamber. It looked like it was isolated, and there was no. We didn't see any kind of a passageway to it. But perhaps they only gave us the angles that didn't show it.
Now, we're going to talk about this when we come back. What do you call this new discovered chamber? There's a word for it.
Well, they're calling it a void, and I was joking that it's a simple void, a void you hear every day.
No. I'm talking about the connection with Scarabray.
Oh, okay. This is an idea that William Henry has put forward. This is his theory. He's suggesting that this links to a concept in Egyptian mythology of an akhet. That's a very specific chamber that the king's soul passes through on the way. A departed king's soul passes through on his way to the sky, and there's the concept of doorways or gateways to the sky. This is a very important chamber.
So when we come back, we're going to talk about the akhet and what you have put together and what is going on at Scarabray. Very interesting, Laird. And I'm serious about this. Everything is connected. All roads lead to Egypt, man. They just do. Our guest tonight, Laird Scranton. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. More when we come back. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
All Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously, go Beckley Tappy.
Do you worry a lot? Whether you're a college student, busy professional, parent, or grandparent, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in 1 to 2 weeks. Call 1-800-758-8746 or calmandclever.com.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Laird Scranton. We're talking about Egypt. Lots of things to discuss that is going on right now over in the Giza Plateau. And this segment of Fade to Black is proudly brought to you by New Pharma. GNU Pharma. Just click on their banners over at JimmyChurchRadio.com and go and read about the science behind New Pharma and use the promo code F2B and you will get 33% off of your order because you're a Fadernaut and you know somebody. Now, Laird, okay, this is where things for me start to get interesting. All roads always seem to go to Egypt somehow. I had just announced earlier tonight, I was talking about the Nazca mummies and what Gaia has presented over there. And one of the things, you know, the white powder that was on the outside of those mummies turns out to be cadmium chloride. Now, cadmium chloride to be used on a mummy 1,500 years ago is pretty interesting, but that's pretty cool. But yeah. It's found in nature in Egyptian date palm pollen. And it's just like, wait a minute. you know, all roads lead back to Egypt, right? And it's just
that's right.
Fascinating to me that a compound like this, which is used in modern industry, it's used cadmium yellow, for a dye and photocopying and metal plating and electroplating. Pretty extensive use today. But that compound to be used 1,500 years ago in Peru, when its sources in nature are, well, amongst other things, but its main source is Egyptian date palm pollen, and what they were using it for in Egypt thousands of years ago for fertility and other things. But again, all roads lead back to Egypt, right?
They sure do.
Now, which goes up to Scarabray. And so I want you to, when you were referring back to William Henry's work, one of the things that William Henry has pointed out with the Iron Throne of Osiris is the boats that the Iron Thrones were placed on, showing movement going forward. But you found evidence of this in Scarabray.
Yes, that same boat image, very similar with the same curved shape of the boat, the same oar or rudder of the boat at the position at the same angle. Basically, it's the angle of the tilt of the axis of the Earth. Is a glyph that is found in northern Scotland in Pictish times. There's an original of one in Kirkwall on Orkney Island. I've seen it. It's exactly the same figure. I've posted comparative figures a number of times. So this is a pervasive symbol. Also, there's an overturned version of the same picture that has a relationship to the end of an era, the idea of a reversal of energy. Some people think we're going through a reversal of energy right now. Now, the original theory here about this chamber that William Henry is working from came out in a paper by an Italian astrophysicist by the name of Giulio Magli. His specialty is focusing primarily on the relationship between ancient architecture and the sky. So the Akhet concept that William Henry is talking about is a chamber that is thought to be situated at the horizon, just at the tip of the horizon, just before the sky. There's an eastern Akhet that most of the Egyptian references are, but there's also a western Akhet that could have potential connections to the region that I've been exploring up in northern Scotland and places like that. But the attention is on the eastern Akhet, and William is saying that he's imagining that this chamber is a representation of that Akhet. This is a place where it's said that the pharaoh, before reaching the stars of the north, will have to pass the gates of the sky and sit on his throne of iron. So if Magli has discovered a throne of iron in this chamber, then the implication is maybe we're looking at a chamber that represents that Akhet, either symbolically or physically. And there's the question of, was there the actual physical ability for something akin to teleportation out of this chamber connected to that throne? So even Magli flatly says that his paper is speculative, that right now there's not any hard evidence to prove that his point of view about it is right. But the working buzz is that they might have found this iron-covered throne, and that it might go on display with the Grand Egyptian Museum.
Now, with an Akhet, when we talk about teleportation, are we referring to this in a literal sense?
Well, there are lots and lots of different references in Egyptian texts to the pharaoh somehow being transformed into a star, ascending to the sky, and so forth. He becomes a shining one, a being of light. And the Akhet, which was characterized as a mountain of light, that's also a description that applies to the Great Pyramid. It's possible that the purpose of what the ancient Egyptian temples was to try to aid that transformation or catalyze that transformation. Maybe this was a a tool that made that happen. It depends on if we take the Egyptian references literally or not. If we take them as strictly symbolic, then there's the question of, well, what could they have been talking about here? What were they trying to represent if they're not saying something literal? So we have two different things going here. We have Mowgli's limited statement that he thinks that he might have found that throne or a representation of that throne, and we have William Henry taking that the next step and comparing it to the Akhet. I think that William first presented that in one of his books, I think in 2014. The Judgment Day device is devoted to part of this subject.
Yeah, that's right. This is what I also find interesting, and I want to go back to Scarabray with this too as well. There's been no bodies found, right, in the Great Pyramid. There was nothing there.
Right.
Did somebody teleport somewhere, right? I mean, that's right. I know it sounds a little bit crazy, but we still don't know what the pyramid is, its ultimate use was for. It certainly wasn't a tomb. So we take that off of the list and we start looking at these other aspects of it. And certainly the Iron Throne would indicate something. But if there isn't a body there, the body went somewhere.
That's right, and why would they? I mean, they have a granite sarcophagus in the King's Chamber that they never discovered a body or any remains of a body in. That is the shape and configuration of a body. It looks like a casket that a body would have been put into. Why are they symbolizing just the casket and not an actual burial? Why did they go to all this trouble to build this huge structure if they weren't actually going to bury somebody in it? That's one of the mysteries.
Was there ever, you know what, with everybody that I've had on this show, I've never asked, was there ever a lid to that sarcophagus?
Yeah, as far as I know, there was. I don't know if it still exists or if it's been damaged, but I know there originally was a lid to that. They found other sarcophagi like that the lids are intact. I'm not sure about the one from the King's Chamber.
But the one for the king, this is what I also find strange. It's too small to have put the other sarcophagus inside of, right? There's one inside of another. I have seen the most massive sarcophagus, at different museums, and which would be, 5, 6, 7, 8 feet too big for that one.
Right.
And it would almost be a baby. If you think about it, it would be a short mummy if it was another sarcophagus that was placed inside of it.
Yeah, in the case of the King's Chamber, the lid has never been found, but they have, because of the lip along the edge of the sarcophagus, they know that it looks like there should have been a lid. They just don't know what became of it. Right.
Now, this teleportation... Okay, so now let's go over to Scarabray and that Akhet up there. Same idea, teleportation?
Well, we're not sure we have an Akhet and Scarabray, but if they're talking about... Okay, in the traditional view of Egyptologists, when they talk about things in the West, their mythical references to the West, modern Egyptologists say, they're talking about the hilly area just west of the Nile region. That's as far as their view is going. But some of the other early artifacts on Scarabray, Scarabray is one of them on Orkney Island, make it look as if maybe some of the references were pointing as far away as northern Scotland. That's what one of my books is about. It's called The Mystery of Scarabray. So I've just speculated that if there's a concept of a Western Akhet, perhaps it's associated with that region up there. I don't have any firm information about that I could compare to William Henry's idea here of an Akhet in the Great Pyramid. We do have lots and lots of references. Wallace Budge writes about the Akhet. A number of different authors write about it. I've got actually quite a bit of information. Alan Alford, who wrote a book called The Midnight Sun, has an entire chapter on the concept of the Akhet. He considers it to be a third realm. You have the everyday world, you have the underworld, and you have the Akkad. And the Akkad is treated in a lot of the text as if it were a separate realm from those other two. It's a very enigmatic subject. Nobody has a good fix on where it was located or what it really was. Another thing that might associate it with the Orkney Island region is that they talk about it being a place of water or near water, which Orkney is. Also, they're talking about it being associated with the field of reeds, which is a concept that I also associate with Orkney. But all of the important Egyptian references are to the Eastern Akkad, which would be something located in Egypt or possibly east of Egypt.
As far as what? Do you think you can go into Asia? Would it go into China?
Hard to say if it goes that far. I mean, traditionally it's interpreted as being Egypt. Egypt is sort of the eastern boundary of what they're talking about. I don't know of anybody who's interpreting things as being a lot farther east than that. Sometimes they talk about a gateway to Egypt or a gateway to a mythical region associated with Egypt that they might place. Okay, they say if there is another locality that we don't know about, then perhaps that's farther east than Egypt is. But mostly Egypt becomes the eastern boundary. We talked about two sphinxes. There was supposedly an eastern and a western sphinx.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Sphinx at Giza is treated as the eastern one. Nobody has come up with an example of the western one. But again, you could imagine that, how far west are they talking? Or if we're just talking the west side of the Nile, there's a chance we'll find it. If they're talking all the way out to the edge of the Atlantic Ocean, maybe we won't.
Now, the other interesting thing for me when we're talking about an entrance or a portal or the possibility of teleportation, we always picture one direction. But I was talking to you about this earlier. What about this being bi-directional?
Well, Akkats are associated with somebody from the material world ascending to the non-material, but they're also associated with going the other direction. What's not clear is whether there were different gateways for those two different functions. If there actually was a structure that you could use as a gateway to move to another realm, would the same gateway let you come back, or would you need a second one to do that?
Somebody just posted, speaking about exactly what we're just talking about, going back to the gate and brink image that we were talking about that I thought was a humanoid figure. Somebody just said that the bottom part of it is a pyramid and the top part is a solar orb. Now that's pretty interesting.
Okay.
Man, that
could be too.
Yeah, the powers of suggestion. Now I no longer see a humanoid figure. I see the pyramid with a ray of light and the sun above, and there's your Stargate.
Well, that could be too, and without some kind of a textual reference to guide us as to what these things are, it's open to speculation.
What do you make of that? We don't have an owner's manual for the Great Pyramid, right? We don't have an owner's manual for a lot of things. I don't have an owner's manual for my coffee machine over at the house. I throw it in the trash. And so if you think about it, 10,000 years in the future, 2,000 years in the future, if somebody finds a coffee machine or a CD player, they wouldn't know what that was used for.
That's right.
Right? We don't.
Well, you know what? These speculative questions without something to guide us to it. I think the hope is that one of these chambers they're going to stumble on, either below the Giza Plateau, below the Sphinx, inside the Great Pyramid, maybe in some of the other places that they're looking, that they will stumble across a trove of texts that will explain things we don't understand. I know in places like India and Timbuktu, you have rumors of underground libraries that are filled with ancient texts that have been copied and recopied and so forth. If they could find something like that, and possibly, it's possible that Zawi Hawass has discovered something like that and just isn't telling anybody, then we might have the potential to be able to sort some of these things out absolutely.
Now, with your translations of different symbols over the years, through the Dogon all the way over to Egypt, where you have clearly represented atomic and subatomic symbolism, which to me is very clear when you explain it, but it's mind-blowing that they could have had this kind of information. When you tie that into something like the pyramid, which is clearly a machine for something, we don't know what it does, but could it be that technically advanced? Are we really talking about the possibility of this being an energy device, a teleportation device, communication device to another planet or another solar system?
Well, in the ancient philosophies that all this stuff is based on, there's a philosophy called Samkhya, and the viewpoint of Samkhya is that universes form in pairs. You have a non-material and a material universe that are essentially twin universes, and the idea is that under certain conditions it is possible to cross over from one to the other. As a matter of fact, that's represented. It's a concept that's represented in connection with the equinox. The idea of balancing things out in a way that you can now cross over between those universes. So if that actually is true, if we can take that as a literal statement that there are two universes and it's theoretically possible to cross, then it's easy to imagine that you might have needed a lot of energy to do that, and now you have a possible rationale for why you have this energetic stone structure or energetically related stone structure. There are lots of theories as to why the stone it was built out of had to have certain properties that connect to energy. Christopher Dunn's a good one to explain the ins and outs of that.
I just got a post from Janine. She says that they were in Egypt last week. No signs of a new path out or cut out for new exploration. Isn't that interesting?
Yes, very interesting.
We see this audience right there, Laird. What does that tell you?
That's great. Having resources at the fingertips is always a good idea. This is why I love going to conferences, because everybody brings their own significant piece, their own experience, their own viewpoint, their own particular niche of study, and amazing what pops out. This is also why my friend Ed Nightingale would really love to get researchers from different fields together to talk about a single subject and just focus on it for a weekend and try to bring all the minds to bear on answering a problem.
Yeah, and really quick, I'm glad you mentioned that. We're at the top of the hour, but you and Ed have got a presentation you guys are doing. Tell us about that.
That's right. We're doing what we're calling a day of instruction at Vassar College on ancient cosmology on Saturday, April 21st. And it'll be 2 sessions. I'll be doing the first session at 9:30 in the morning, sort of a survey course on ancient cosmology. And then after a break for lunch, then Ed will be doing a session all afternoon about his plan for the Giza Plateau. His plan predicts and explains the positioning and the size and shape and angles of all the structures you see on the Giza Plateau. It evokes all sorts of really interesting values, like the value of of both kinds of cubits, values of all sorts of units of measure, the musical scale, the speed of light, all sorts of interesting things. And then also shows how those are a reflection of motions in the heavens above the plateau, just as Robert Bauval says the pyramids, 3 pyramids at Giza represent the belt stars of Orion. Ed's got rotational cycles in the heavens connected to what you see on the ground at Giza. Really interesting stuff.
Yeah, and Ed to me is one of the, he's our age, but he is certainly new for us, and we need fresh minds talking about this as often as we can. But his research, I think, is as groundbreaking as any of the others, Graham Hancock or Bauval or Jaws or yourself. Ed is right there with the rest of them, isn't he?
Yeah, he really is, and he's been working from very precise satellite images of the Giza structures one of the things he's discovered is that there were 3 major surveys done of the Giza Plateau over the last century and a half or so. And his examination of that shows that certain values were misstated, sometimes wildly misstated in these other surveys. It's sometimes off by 30 feet from what the actual measurement is. And I think his outlook is that, if you misstate the right facts, you can disguise what's being represented. But he's a brilliant guy. He's been working on this for 20 years. Actually, he went to Egypt with John Anthony West. That's what inspired him to. He was standing in the center of the Giza Plateau with a craftsman's mindset, and could see what he considered to be the center of the plan, and thought, "Wow, this was designed. I got to figure this out."
Yeah, his representations of that when they only make sense, and I remember the first time that I looked at how he had it laid out, and I'm like, why hasn't anybody done this before? Yeah, Ed's work is mind blowing. Now, when we come back, we're going to go to a break here in just a second. But now the next rumor out of Giza is the tomb of Nefertiti. That now that this has been discovered and is actually covered up. When you hear news like this, what do you think is actually going on?
Well, again, they're using modern technology to try to sort out where there might be things buried that they aren't aware of. And this is a big possibility. I mean, King Tut's tomb was probably the biggest thing that has been discovered in Egypt in terms of wealth of riches and wealth of artifacts and information about the period of around 1400 BC. So that's a definite possibility for research for someone to try to find other related tombs.
And when we come back, we're going to talk about, we've all heard about the Valley of the Kings, but there's also the Valley of the Monkeys. What is the Valley of the Monkeys?
I'm pretty sure I saw that on the TV show in the 1960s.
That's good. That's funny.
Well, when we come back, we can talk about what the significance of the Valley of the Monkeys is, and also the Valley of the Kings.
Absolutely. Our guest tonight, the one and only Laird Scranton. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, talking about everything that's going down right now in Egypt, in Giza. There's a lot of stuff happening right now. It's Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. More of the Laird after this short break. Stay with us.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station. Salt Lake City, Utah. Van Buren, Arkansas.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on the smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRARadio.com.
Hello, Fadernauts. This is Jimmy Church, and I'm introducing New Pharma. a company whose products are based on science. Human function based on the endocannabinoid system, or ECS. New Pharma firmly believes in this science, and their research indicates that support of the ECS provides the beneficial effects for a healthy lifestyle. New Pharma's science includes relief capsules for pain relief, sleep capsules, which are natural support for occasional sleeplessness. Foundation is support for your ECS, and Fit capsules support your active lifestyle. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2B for a 33% discount on all of their products. Or visit newpharma.com for all of the knowledge on the science. That's GNUpharma.com. Go back, Lee Tappy. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go back, Lee Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. My guest tonight, Laird Scranton. The segment of Fade to Black is proudly brought to you by New Manna, emergency food storage for you and your family. Let's go to the New Manna banner. Promo code Jimmy, Jimmy, will get you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt with every order over $100. Very simple. Go and do it now. Get to the landing page. Now, Laird, the Valley of the Monkeys. What are we talking about here? How come this hasn't been brought up before? And as you answer that, it turns out that the one and only Zahi Hawass is leading this expedition. I thought he was banned from Egypt.
Well, he's been sort of in and out of favor. You know, there was a period of time where he was banned and where I think he was actually under house arrest for a while. I know that some of the conferences I was at, that he was on the same venue that he made his presentation remotely, but apparently now he's back to work again, and he's busy with his next project, which is great.
Which is this.
Which is
the Valley of
this.
Yeah, the Valley of the Monkeys. Where is the Valley of the Monkeys?
Okay, let's give you a little bit of background. Back in the early dynastic times in Egypt, the place to be buried, if you were somebody, was Abydos, which is the first capital of dynastic Egypt. And there are all sorts of chambers and things that are not very well preserved in that area that are a focus of early Egyptian studies. Later on, the pharaohs decided they wanted to be buried in the Valley of the Kings, which is farther south on the Nile River, down past Luxor. So the Valley of the Monkeys is an offshoot of that. It's a side valley to the west of the Valley of the Kings, where there are in the neighborhood of 64 tombs, rock-cut tombs that are there, that were mostly the burial chambers of kings that followed King Tut in the era just after him. You remember King Tut was the son of Akhenaten, and Nefertiti was Tut's wife. So I think what Zahi is involved with right now is the search. Okay, King Tut's tomb, as I said, was when it was finally identified, was just filled with riches and magnificent artifacts and just probably the greatest find that archaeologists have come across. So they would love to come across more like that. Nefertiti is a high enough profile figure in ancient Egyptian history that it's possible that her burial chamber, if they can find it, would be filled with similar artifacts. So they've been using radar to search the region of the Valley of the Monkeys to try to find possible locations of her tomb. There are rumors that they may have, they may think that they've stumbled across it. If they have, again, this is a candidate for presentation. This would be a pretty spectacular opening exhibit for the Grand Egyptian Museum if they could have something akin to King Tut's tomb, on display.
Okay, so I just got this email from Janine, who was just with William in Egypt, and she says they found her tomb and are lining up sponsors for the artifacts to raise money. This will be part of the opening of the new Cairo Museum. She says, not sure if the pyramid artifacts will be part, but it's definitely Nefertiti. I was there
That's terrific.
Yeah, and she says, but William may be the one to leak this. Well, he certainly deserves it. William is, he's always over there, and Claire is the best. And if somebody has got the scoop here, it would definitely be William, and I couldn't think of anybody more deserving than William Henry. So I've been reaching out to William. I was speaking to Laird about this. I've been reaching out to William, and he's been in Egypt and is also over in Italy right now. So as soon as he gets back, we'll bring him on the show, and we'll see. We'll try to find out exactly what's going on. I know he doesn't want to blow his sources. That's always a big deal over in Egypt. Everybody, I was talking to, check this out, I'm not going to say who, but I was talking to, one of the so-called American Egyptologists. There's a lot of guys out there that do a lot, and girls that do a lot of work, that told me, man, I can't speak until next year. I've got the biggest scoop in the history of Egypt, and I can't talk about it right now. And it's just like, man, everybody is trying to scoop the next person with Egypt.
Right. I had misspoke earlier. I had said that Nefertiti was married to Tut. Nefertiti was married to Akhenaten.
Yes.
I meant to say Akhenaten, but just to get that point straight.
Yeah. Why do you think? Yeah, I make that mistake all the time, and they're all from the same period too, as well. That whole family, so it's easy to make that kind of mistake.
And Tut wasn't old enough. I mean, Tut was a young man when he.
Well, he was married to his sister, right?
Well, that happened a lot. You see, kingship in the pharaohship passed down to the wife. So, if a man wanted to ascend to the throne, he had to be married to the queen that it passed through. So there was a lot of marriage of children back and forth. I mean, you need a Mobius strip to be able to track the genetic lineage of some of these people. But there was a lot of what we consider to be incest back and forth. Marriages, maybe marriages just to accommodate ascension to the throne.
Now, why would King Tut's wife not be buried in his tomb or next to his tomb?
That's one of the mysteries, one of the considerations that what happened here. That also there are speculation that what had been prepared as her tomb was actually used to bury somebody else. So there's a question of, did she fall out of favor? Was she buried someplace obscure? Were they not going to find a tomb? There was a lot of back and forth about why wasn't she buried with her husband.
Now, and what about some of the other things when we're talking about Giza in that area? Certainly, all the way down to Abydos and the Valley of the Kings, like the halls of Amenti and the idea of another city being buried under the sand there, that is certainly would predate dynastic Egypt and go back to the history of the gods and what was there before. What do you think about that?
these are always possibilities. The problem is that dynastic Egypt emerges about the same time that writing does. So we don't have a lot of records before the early dynasties in Egypt about what might be found. And when we do have a later text that reports, talks about a place, it's not always clear where it was located. It's not always clear if it was a geographic place or a mythical place. So there's always the possibility of stumbling on something. My friends John Ward and Maria Nilsson uncovered a lost temple in the Gebel el-Silla area a year or two ago that made all the archaeology magazines and stuff. There's lots to be found and lots that hasn't been excavated. It's anybody's guess as to what we're going to turn up.
And then we have the discussion that happened last year that Nefertiti was actually buried in King Tut's tomb behind the south wall.
Well, right, and so, but now if they say they found Nefertiti's tomb, that's a wonderful thing. That resolves a big set of issues. Also, it may point them to other sites they've been looking for.
Now, who do you think, we'll find out from William Henry, but I want your speculation on this. Who do you think found it? Do you think it was an official archaeological dig, or do you think it was one of the fringe researchers?
I have no idea. I mean, there are finds turning up because somebody digs, unofficially in their own house or their own backyard. They happen to hit something that's a find, and they notify authorities, or maybe they're digging secretly and they turn up something that they don't report. Anybody's guess. Sometimes things are found by farmers who are plowing a field. Sometimes they're found by somebody's dog going down into a crevice.
Right.
You would hope that a traditional Egyptologist is going to come across these things and that tombs won't get robbed and that artifacts will be documented properly and so forth.
About 4 years ago, I had one of the researchers tell me privately that the tomb of Nefertiti was in Turkey, and that it was dug up, everything was cataloged, and this announcement was going to come out, and that was 5 years ago. And here we are 5 years later. That never happened. And that kind of misleading information, to throw me off of the scent, to throw others off of the scent, and it goes back to everybody trying to get this scoop about what's going on in Egypt. And to me, I don't understand why there's so much misleading information out there and why everybody wants to get the scoop on somebody else instead of cooperating with each other.
Right. And theoretically, there's all sorts of artifacts that were covered over when they built the Aswan Dam to the south of Egypt. Who knows what's underwater there that somebody might have excavated if they hadn't built that dam.
I'm going to tell you a little fact here that I find interesting about the Aswan Dam. When they had to move that temple there, they moved 2,500 blocks. It took them 8 years.
Wow.
Right? To move the temple. 8 years, 2,500 blocks. Not 2.5 million.
2,500 blocks. Isn't that about 2 weeks' work for the ancient Egyptians?
That's, it's just like that. That's a fact that they just don't want publicized. And that 2,500 blocks, we're talking about modern cranes and trucks and hydraulic equipment and men and just all the technology of modern engineering they could throw at it. 2,500 blocks, 8 years.
Wow.
And they moved it. They moved it 6 miles.
Yeah, and a lot of these things were moved further than that. But I know they used to move the blocks by water, up and down the Nile. So I don't know what evidence has been uncovered of them actually doing that. I know they have some artwork that indicates it. I'm not sure they've actually found like the sledges that the blocks were moved on and so forth at some of the excavation sites.
I wanted to ask you, and this always pops up, and it just popped up in Twitter, and I just wanted to throw this out at you. When do you think that Giza was built. We have we've got 3 pyramids there, so we can talk about the Great Pyramid. We certainly have the Sphinx, but when do you think it was built, and who do you think actually did it?
Well, the fact that there aren't hieroglyphs in the pyramids, in the Great Pyramid, in the 3 pyramids at Giza, says to me that they were built before writing, because writing is too widespread in the other structures to think that they wouldn't have put something there if they had a system of writing. But symbolism tells us certain things. Before, in the archaic era, structures that were set on the ground, like shrines, were built with circular bases. A circle was representative of our universe at that point in time. After midway through the cycle, since about 12,000 years ago, there was a switch in reversal in symbolism in very many different ways. And one of the reversals is that now suddenly structures that were built with a round base are suddenly built with a squared base. The fact that the pyramids have square bases says to me that they were built in the second half of a cycle. If you think of a 12,000-year half cycle, if you think of a Yuga cycle being 25,000 years roughly, and half of that is roughly a little over 12,000-year half cycle, that the squared base is appropriate to the second half of that half cycle. Now, whether it was this cycle or not, the Yuga cycles supposedly go back. This is a recurring thing. So whether that would have been the second half of the current cycle or a second half of a previous cycle, it's hard to say. I know John Anthony West was of an opinion that it went back quite a long way. I think he was citing figures like 30,000 years. If you were to ask him when the pyramids were built, it would have been at least then. I don't have a fix on it. I can say that it looks to me like it was before written language, which means before 3000 BC, and after at the midpoint of a cycle, which if it was this cycle, would put it after 4000 BC. So that gives us about a 1,000-year span where if they were built this cycle, they were built then.
So that's an interesting take. And I study Egypt, and I didn't really look at it in those terms. Often wondered why there weren't any hieroglyphics in there. We've all wondered that. But it was built before there were hieroglyphics. Of course. It's like the simplest answer. No, I'm being serious. Why? There really hasn't been anybody to come forward and ponder that. Have you put that out there before?
In interviews, I've talked about it, but it makes sense to me. There's in my field of study, there are far more questions that you don't have a definitive answer to than the ones you can answer. So there are all these open questions. Imagine this stack of open questions, and that's one of them. I have a feel for what I think is true, but it's not something I can demonstrate convincingly that it has to be true. Just my impression.
Well, even when you go back to Abydos and you look at the earliest tombs that are there, going back to Menes, there is something that has hieroglyphics on it, whether it's tags or small artifacts or whatever. But there's always hieroglyphics there, right?
Right. Very often in temples of any kind in Egypt, in dynastic Egypt, we see hieroglyphs, things that we know when they were built, and we know they were built in dynastic times. We see hieroglyphic writing, we see artwork, we see carvings that might or might not be hieroglyphs. But the fact that there is none inside the Great Pyramid, the thing that makes sense to me is that it was built before we had written language.
Now, what about the other two pyramids there? When we look at like Menkaure, and we have all of the chambers that we know exist in the Great Pyramid, there's never any talk about the possibility of something being in Menkaure. What do you think about that?
Well, now we're getting into Ed Nightingale's area, that one of the pyramids there is very clear from his work is there to establish units of measure. and we have the same values being given redundantly in several different units of measure, and we have geometry that's evoking what those measures are. So one of the pyramids is primarily about land unit of measures and human scale units of measure. The Great Pyramid seems to be about more cosmic level units of measure and global units of measure. We have relationships between, a lot of people will tell you that the Great Pyramid is a squared hemisphere and that its dimensions are a reflection of actual dimensions of the Earth. So we're at a larger scale of reference with the Great Pyramid than we are with the smaller ones. One of the pyramids, I think, is primarily about angles, about where things are placed, about what angles they're at. We also have relationships, the sides of the Great Pyramid are not flat, they're indented a little bit. And so the measure that you get if you measure straight across the side is shorter than if you measure the two angles to the center indent.
Right. Because it's 8-sided. I want everybody to understand what Laird is saying here. It's not 4-sided. The Great Pyramid is 8-sided. And you can only see it for a few minutes on the, say it, Laird.
The equinox or on the solstice, right. Now, Ed's take on that is that, okay, if you imagine the musical scale, people who are musicians know that the frequencies of sound that make the musical notes are approximate. If you tried to lay them out mathematically to get the precise interval of the note, it's not right. You have to fudge it just a little bit to get the proper note. Well, the same sort of fudge factor happens with the units of measure he comes up with, that there's a root number, which is the straight calculation, and there's the fudge number, which is a factor off of that. And that's the relationship between these two measures of the indented sides and the straight measure of the sides. They're defining that relationship. And so you have a root speed of light, and then you apply the measure and you get the actual speed of light, that kind of thing.
So, what about the inside of Menkaure? Why not scan it?
Right. Well, the geometric relationships are all to do with the outer appearances of these things, which is not to say that there's not important symbolism involved with the insides of these structures, but all of what looks like the units of measure type of information that's being reflected at Giza seems to be presented outwardly, not inwardly.
Yeah, but that's a lot of work, isn't it? That's a lot of work just to give this information, as opposed to something being.
The work was to preserve it, to make sure that it over a long period of time it didn't get lost. The second thing, according to the Dogon, the second thing they were trying to do was, the Dogon's teachers felt that humanity had to be drawn to knowledge like a moth to a flame, and so part of the rationale for building huge structures is because it has the effect of drawing people to it. You want to know about this, you want to be around it, you want to live near it, you want to know why did they build it, how did they build it. They're just questions that have persisted century after century connected to these structures, and that was the effect they were trying to get.
And I know I'm pushing you on this, but I really have to know, do you think that there is nothing on the inside of Menkaure? You think it's a solid pile of stone?
It's hard to say. I don't have enough of a fix on that pyramid to be able to offer an opinion about it. I'm not even sure who to refer you to besides Ed as an authority on it, and I'm not sure he has a fix on the inside of it. I know he does on the outside.
Yeah, I know, and I'm with you on that, and I know what history has said about that, and history's never been right, but when I look at it, it's just as big, it's just as majestic as the Great Pyramid. It's only a few feet shorter. It seems to me like there is a lot of stuff on the inside. If they're saying that there's nothing in there, then that means there's something in there.
Yes. That's a good rule of thumb. Yes.
Yeah. What did Jaws think about that? I mean, did he ever wonder about Menkari?
I never heard him speculate about that. I did hear him speculate about why anyone would think to build structures with such big stones. It's so cumbersome to use such large stones to build things. I was on a panel discussion where they were discussing that at one time. A number of presenters were discussing it. I think Robert Bobal was of the opinion that an engineer builds with the materials that it's easiest for him to work with. If they were building with, 100-ton blocks of stone, there's a rationale from which that was the easiest thing to do. John was of the opinion that it was done for effect, that the effect of the same structure built out of bricks or built out of 70-ton stones is very different on the person who's at the structure.
Yeah, that would make sense. That would make sense.
I have another take on why that might be. There are relationships between the non-material and the material that have to do with changing time frames. This gets down to Yuga cycle stuff. And the idea is that time frames are lengthening on the material side and they're shortening on the non-material side. And that in early eras when there were these interactions might have been happening between the two universes, that there was a minimum segment of time that could be accessed from the non-material side. And it's as if you had a tool that wasn't capable of cutting a piece of stone smaller than 100 tons.
What's next for you, Laird, before we get out of here? What are you working on now?
I have a book coming out in May through Intertraditions called Decoding Maori Cosmology. It's about the Maori in New Zealand, and it connects to every other era I've written about. It connects to Africa, Egypt, India, China, Turkey, Northern Scotland, the United Kingdom. So that's out in May. I have a self-published book that was out in October called Seeking the Primordial that deals with fundamental concepts of creation and how the Dogon have symbolic stages that don't immediately align with science. You don't immediately see how they align with science because the scientists aren't talking about the same stages. But when you examine them, you realize, hey, there is a scientific rationale where the Dogon are absolutely right about the fundamental dynamics of how creation happens. It's very actually interesting and in the end, simple stuff. There are only a handful of dynamics that make everything happen. I'm also working on a manuscript right now called The Plan of the Ancient Cosmology. And the purpose of this book is, the concept for this book is, to spell out the thought process that went into designing this symbolic system and presenting it, why certain choices were made, why symbols are presented the way they are, what kinds of techniques they were using to communicate information, and what kinds of considerations they had to take into account to be able to communicate that knowledge.
I remember a couple of years ago, you and I talked a little bit about the Maori of New Zealand, and I'm going to tell you right now, I haven't gotten that much email on a subject. It flooded in, and the listeners in New Zealand and Australia that are familiar with that, you're absolutely right. Here in New Zealand, they don't talk about it.
No, and the Maori are hugely controversial in New Zealand. There's a lot at stake about certain theoretic perspectives on the Maori. And so I'm touching on things in a different way. I'm looking at it from an outside perspective, not an inside perspective. I'm in contact with some people who do have insider perspectives on Maori studies. And it's interesting. The language is very interesting. It connects in every way to the Dogon and Egyptian language that I've been working with. It's formulated in the same way. This is based on the original phonetic tradition of the oral cosmology, where words are built from syllables that are symbolic. Each syllable has a concept associated with it, and you can build larger constructs, larger words, larger concepts from these building block syllables. And so sitting down with a Maori dictionary, I can predict for you with pretty good consistency what a Maori word is going to mean simply based on how it's pronounced.
How many languages do you speak?
Well, bad English. I think it was Bruce Willis who said English and bad English. That what his line was from The Fifth Element. I've been working with the Dogon language, the Egyptian hieroglyphic language. The Dogon dictionary is in French, so I've also had to be able to deal with that. I studied German and Spanish when I was in school.
And how about, I'm already past the commercial break here, so I'm just throwing it all to the wind at this point. How many languages can you read?
It's hard to say. There are easily a half dozen or more that I work with on a regular basis, and then others that connect to those that I have an impression about, but not a deep knowledge about.
But so hieroglyphics, you're in Dendera. You can just walk through there and just read it all.
Well, yes and no. In the traditional viewpoint, a glyph is like a letter. It represents a phonetic value. But that doesn't really make sense because we've got 40 phonetic values and 4,000 glyphs. They don't need that many glyphs to represent 40 phonetics. From my point of view, each glyph represents a concept. And so I can walk up to a wall and see a series of glyphs and substitute concepts for the glyphs and give you an impression of what the word says based on the concepts. You're producing symbolic sentences. The Egyptian word for week reads day 10. It's a 10-day week. The word tells you its own meaning. Every Egyptian word I work with works that way. So yes, I can read it in one way. I can't, but it's a glyph-based reading. It's not a word-based reading.
And what about the cartouches? If can you do you know all of the cartouches both phonetically and correctly?
I don't know them all from memory, but it's the same set of glyphs,
right?
And so you can interpret what concept was being expressed by those glyphs, and I understand what the name. The pharaohs chose their own name, so I can look at those glyphs and have some understanding about what the meaning of his name was and why he might have picked it. There's a pharaoh at Abydos in very early times who about 2600 BC, whose name was Sene Pharaoh. Now, Sene is a word that means image or reflection of, and Pharaoh is the word pharaoh. Well, it turns out this is the guy who started building pyramids. And the pyramids that he built take odd shapes, like the bent pyramid that changes angles halfway up and nobody knows why.
Right.
Well, each of these oddly shaped pyramids has a counterpart in the Faroe Islands. There's a mountain that's shaped very much like it. It's like this is a reflection. His name says his issue is reflections of the Pharaoh, and the structures he built are reflections of the Faroe Islands.
What? Are you serious?
Yeah, serious. Yeah, I could send you photographs. I mean, there's a mountain there that looks just like the bent pyramid.
And wait a minute. And you also said 2600 BC. Right. Which is later than the traditional dating of 2650 for the Great Pyramid, but the Bent Pyramid was allegedly built 75 years prior. Right?
Right. And those dating are loosey-goosey depending on the frame of reference that the source is using. And so like where one source will say 1500 BC, another will say 1300 BC. There's some wiggle room in there.
There has to be wiggle room. Okay, one last question before I let you go, and I know it's late out there on the East Coast. I have often said that the dating of any of this is guesswork at best. When we say 3000 BC, the Egyptians didn't have a calendar, and their reference to years was by name only. Right? They didn't have numbers for years. So we could be off by huge chunks of time with all of this dating, couldn't we?
Well, Emanuel Velikovsky wrote a famous book called Ages in Chaos, where he pointed out that if we believe the traditional Egyptian timeline and try to line it up with the traditional timeline given from the perspective of, say, Israel, that there's a 700-year gap in there where the same events repeat twice according to one timeline. There's an extra 700 years in the timeline someplace that needs to be filtered out. And he wrote this long book about it. I'm not sure anybody's actually done anything about revising the timelines, but there's lots of room because you have researchers establishing their rulers, their guidelines from different points of view based on different facts, and also based on different names. You know, even a ruler might be called by different names in different civilizations.
Yeah, I don't know of anywhere, and I've tried to find this out, Laird. I don't know who has collected all, and especially when we go back, let's go back 100 years. Prior to when you were putting dates together and these British archaeologists and stuff from the 1800s and the 1900s that were out there dating this stuff, there's no collective reference point or reference book where everybody has got everything together and is dated and accounted for every day going back 3000 BC. It doesn't exist.
There are official timelines, but one of the problems is that one of the traditional ways they anchor events that they don't know for sure when they happened was in terms of total eclipses of the sun.
Right.
Now the problem is that the mathematical calculations for total eclipses don't work across the boundary of 709 BC. There are other things that don't work. Radiometric dating also doesn't work across that boundary. There's something big happened at 709 BC that these processes don't hold true across that boundary. That's also the same era when just after they changed, all these cultures changed over from a 360-day year to 365. It looks like something really, really big happened then. There's huge fluctuations in the magnetic field. There's huge volcanic activity. There's changes in climate. There's changes in the ion absorption rate of plants. That's things that shouldn't happen. So something big happened there they're not accounting for. So the techniques they're using to calculate these dates, there's not a single total eclipse of the sun reported before 709 BC that they've actually been able to confirm using the traditional calculations. It should be clockwork.
It should be clockwork. And when I've talked to different researchers over the years, and when I bring up this point, they go, oh, no, we've got celestial events that line everything up. And I'm like, well, show it to me. And there isn't anything out there that documents this. And that's the thing. I don't know if we're talking about 3000 BC or if we're talking in literal terms. Now, we're not talking about 6000 BC.
Right. I mean, there could easily be centuries in there full of fluctuation back and forth in terms of when an event happened. Nobody's absolutely sure. This is why I'm suspicious of alignment. You know, when somebody says, yes, the star computer programs, the astronomical programs confirm an alignment of a constellation at a particular year in a particular place, if they can't confirm where the total eclipses happened, they don't know anything. They don't know what our relationship was to the stars. Those alignments are guesswork. They're not firm.
That's exactly right. That's why you are on this show. Thank you so much, Laird. And I can't wait to get you back on. And as soon as you finish the book, let us know, and I can't wait to read it.
Well, great. Thank you very much, Jimmy. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
You're the best, Laird, and I mean it. Thank you so much.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Laird Scranton, everybody. That's what I am talking about right there. Big stuff going on all around the world in Egypt right now with Nefertiti, this new chamber above the Grand Gallery. This is all big stuff. It's Fade to Black. All tied all the way back into the Nazca mummies. You got to love Fade to Black. All right, I'm going to open up the phone lines, 323-825-5045 or 323-275-9695. Your phone calls are next. Stay with us.
Hey, what up, y'all? Sugar Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter. But listening to Jimmy Church will.
So you went to dinner last night, you had your favorite pasta. Ugh. Or maybe you had a heavy, spicy meal and it left you. Ugh. GetTheTea.com. Maybe you mowed down a huge steak and your plumbing is all plugged. Ugh. GetTheTea.com. Our super strength tea will take care of your occasional. Ugh. It's all organic and non-GMO. Get rid of ugh. We have so many great supplements, but our super tea is number one. GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of fade to black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hey, can we talk about something serious for a minute? Your age. Getting old has its perks. But remember, being a few years younger, you know, your hair was thicker, you didn't have so many wrinkles, that extra weight wasn't haunting you, and you just felt better. Well, we can't turn back the clocks and go back 10 or 15 years, but you can start feeling and looking 10 or 15 years younger with Nature's Youth RSF. It's a doctor-formulated daily supplement that helps your body maintain its peak performance and fight the aging process. Imagine sleeping better, looking better, and feeling better. See how Nature's Youth RSF has helped thousands of people just like you at nature'syouth.com. nature'syouth.com. The holidays are coming. Imagine how it will feel when your family and friends are asking you what you did to look so good. Your secret will be Nature's Youth RSF. It's time to start looking better and feeling better. Learn more and order your Nature's Youth RSF at nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRAradio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I want to thank Laird Scranton. Fascinating times, I'm telling you. Everything is just crashing down on us. Facebook falling apart. We've got Giza going on. The Nazca mummies revelations are just extraordinary. That's happening right now. All of that tied back to Egypt, too, as well. It's just absolutely nutty to me. But thank you, Laird Scranton. Just always a fascinating conversation. And I just noticed Mark Tarana's meme that he just put up. To quote Jimmy Church, we know nothing. I'm going to make a T-shirt. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do a We Know Nothing T-shirt. That'll be on the back. Go Beckley Teppy on the front. Let's go to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hello, Jimmy. It's Mirella.
Hi, how are you?
I'm really good. Thank you.
And what time is it over there?
It's about nearly the time for the Bold and the Beautiful, 4:30.
Okay, you know what? I'm just going to let that go. All right, I'm just going to let...
that's everyone who, like, all the nanas.
I didn't know that was still on, but is there an Australian version of it, or is that the American version?
Oh, it's right on cue. And my sister went over, and my daughter works for the production company that organizes all the flowers and plants on the show.
Oh, that's
cool.
So
they got... I know she got like a little pathway to take my sister backstage, and they did filming, and they met everyone, all the cast. So it was so exciting because my grandma has watched it for, I don't know, forever.
Right.
My mum and everyone, it's fun. But that's the LA thing. My daughter's in LA.
So what's on your mind tonight? What did you think about the show?
I love every show, but I've just organised all my house with computer and iPad, and I'm calling you on my phone, but I'm looking at you on the bunker cam, so that's exciting for me.
I'm waving at you right now on the bunker cam, so...
Hello, I'm waving back. I love that on Stellar thing. I'm so happy to kind of let everything go, because I need a place where I have other people talking about the same thing. So Facebook doesn't do that for me anymore. I was happy to leave MySpace when it all happened years ago, and then I went to Facebook. It's just to keep in contact with my children in LA, basically.
Right.
But that's it. And so to have on Stella, like I'm all ready. I've got my name, I've got everything ready. And I want to do the token thing. Like I want to get coffee. I want to get, night vision glasses. If I can work for those, I want to. The thing about the Egypt was that with all my computer stuff now all done, took me a week. With the, service here, Telstra in Australia, but that's all good now. And I revisited a lot of old documentaries, that I remember watching and blah, blah, blah. So there's a place in Egypt called Abyssinia, and there was a reference about Abyssinia being the monuments there, which are pyramids, but they're very, very old, maybe dating back before the Sphinx. So they're aligned supposedly with the Palladian star system, which sits behind Orion and sits behind Sirius, the star. So in ancient times, that was the star Sirius who they worshipped and did all the drawings to and everything. The star actually disappears from their sky for 70 days. I don't know this, and I wondered if someone knew all this, which would help me because... Are you still there?
Yeah, go ahead. I brought in a call, but it broke up. So, yeah, go ahead and continue. Okay,
so we have the Palladians come in and out of our sun skies here. And in Aboriginal Dreamtime stories, the Seven Sisters are related to the Palladian star system.
Yeah, can you speak up? Marilla, speak up.
The Palladian star system in our skies, southern skies. And I was wondering, does anyone know whether these pyramids in Abyssinia and their alignment with the Palladians is actually a story, is actually in their folklore, come down through word of mouth. And it's interesting for me because we come under the Palladian energy as well. And in the Aboriginal Dreamtime, the Seven Sisters are always referred to. We have a Seven Sisters conference in the desert, and the Dreamtime story is told. These pyramids in Abyssinia, the seven, so there's that. I had a little operation during the week, but my surgeon, I didn't know, he was from Abyssinia, a Coptic Egyptian. We got talking while he was doing my surgery. I wasn't asleep. It was so synchronistic of what I'd just been reading today on listening. Like, I'm thinking, there's just too much in this. We are under their influence as well, just by being a part of that whole map, that star map, and the archaeological map as well.
Well, I can help you out with this, Marilla. If you go and look up Ed Nightingale, I don't have his links right now, but somebody will post it up in Twitter and we'll get it there. But he has laid out everything from Giza all the way down with some very accurate satellite military imaging. And he has laid out all of, now, of course, Baval and Orion, and we know about that, and Andrew Collins and the work that they have done with the alignments. But Nightingale has connected everything. So if you go, Ed Nightingale. So you should go and look at his research and see if he's tied in the Pleiades. And if it is those 7 pyramids tied in with the 7 sisters, but you should go look at his work and also send him an email. He's easy to get a hold of.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much, Marilla. Have a great, safe night. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Yeah, that's a really interesting point. Let's go back to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hi, this is Janine.
This is who?
This is Janine Bassol.
Oh, hi, Janine. How are you?
Yeah, not the other Janine whose questions you were reading. It's good to know there's another one of us on Fade to Black.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you're not alone out there. That's what's really cool. What's up?
I know I'm not alone. Hey, I had a really weird experience tonight that I'm hoping that maybe you or some of the Fadernauts can shed some light on. I noticed when I was doing some shopping in Target, and I noticed how, all the customers they would help other customers, and everybody was just being so nice. And then I was walking down the aisle, and all of a sudden, it was like my reality made a slight shift. I was still in Target, but it was like, kind of like something changed, kind of like something went flat or something. I was in some kind of different reality, but I was still in the same place. It was weird. I don't know how else to describe it.
Well, what do you think happened? What do you think happened, Janine?
I think the only thing I can think of is that it was kind of like I made a shift into 4D for a few moments, because I was noticing that everybody was being so courteous to everybody. I would ask somebody for help, and then when they would help me, I would send a blessing to them. I was kind of having fun pretending that I was an angel. I would send an angel off to send them a blessing. And I would ask somebody for help, thinking that they were an employee, and oh no, they weren't an employee. But they pointed me in the right direction anyway. And so it's just like, it just wasn't your typical 3D, people being grumpy to one another.
Yeah, you were definitely in an alternate reality if you were getting help at Target.
From other customers.
Yeah. That's like a Bizarro world in Superman.
Yeah. It really, it's like my reality shifted. It was I wish I knew how to describe it.
Wouldn't it be nice if every day was like that?
Oh gosh, wouldn't this world be so much nicer to live in?
I know.
But if you've seen any of my emails referring you to things that Alison Coe has been hearing from her QHHT clients. That's Dolores Cannon's quantum healing hypnosis technique. And she's been hearing from a lot of clients and those who give her permission to share, she does, about this massive energetic wave that's coming that is going to, what you'll see, everybody will see a little something different, but in general, what most are reporting, and what she does is they talk to the higher self of the client. And what they are saying is that most people are going to see kind of like these iridescent colors in the sky. And they're saying everyone, no matter where they are, will see this. And the truly evil will be swept away, and most people with a high enough vibration will feel a buzzing or a vibrating in their bodies right before it happens. And this could be any day now, Jimmy. You got to get Allison Coe on the show. COE, got to look her up.
Oh, we know Allison Coe.
Oh, good. I'm glad you know her.
Everybody knows Allison Coe.
Oh, okay, good. I hope you guys like her.
Hey, Janine, I've got to roll. I've got to get credits going and wrap up the show. But are you going to be at Contact in the Desert?
I don't think so, but who knows? Things might change.
Okay.
I went to England 50 years ago this year, and as a child, and I had my 8th birthday over there, and I still want to take my sister and I and go over to England and be there for my 58th birthday. I really want to do that, but that would be in the middle of June. So it would be you can't do
both.
But I am signed up for Soltech.
Oh, you're going to Soltech. I can't wait. And you're going to bring your Fade to Black shirt. Don't forget.
Of course.
Janine, thank you so much.
You know what? I've only gotten one, and I don't know if that was for the Numana or if that was for the Game Changer.
Oh, well then
because I haven't gotten a hat yet either.
Well there you go. Well, check your mailbox.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Janine.
Okay, thanks. Great show, Jimmy. Great show.
And thank you, Janine. And we'll see you tomorrow night.
Okay, be here. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Janine, she's so cool. Tomorrow night, Yvonne Smith is going to be here. Wow, what a week on the show. Fantastic show tonight. And I've got to tell you, there is some stuff going on right now in Giza that it has to resolve itself. And I know the massive museum, the New Cairo Museum out there, Rita and I just watched a documentary on the building of that, and it's tremendous. It's huge. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. And I wouldn't doubt that they are holding stuff back that would be used for the grand opening, for tourism. And I've talked to so many people that tourism is great, everything is cool, everything is safe. I'm telling you right now, Rita and I just watched a documentary on tourism in Egypt, and it's empty. It's empty. It is nothing like what it used to be, and they've got this museum that is getting ready to get finished, and they're going to have the grand opening, and there may not be that many people flying out there to go and check it out. And so think about that, holding something back like Nefertiti's tomb, what was found in this new chamber above the Grand Gallery, and other things too as well that they could be holding back just for this. So there you go, and we'll get a William Henry on here as soon as we can to find out exactly what's going on. And that wraps another episode of Fade to Black. Thank you to Laird Scranton. Thank you to Janine. Morella out there in Australia, thank you for calling in tonight. Fade to Black's executive producer is Rita Camurian. Shows produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitola, Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster Drew the Geek. Music Doug Aldrich. Intro Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. This broadcast owned and copyrighted 2018 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Tomorrow night, right here, Yvonne Smith. Until then, everybody be safe. Go Beckley Teppy.